So,
Yeah.
okay.
And it's 12:01. Do you want to start? We'll have people trickle in
Okay,
and
yes,
go.
let's start. So hello everybody. I know that people are coming in as as we're going on here. So welcome. If you've never been to one of our water cooler chats before, my name is Greg. Also on this call are Marianne Pelletier and Ruthie Giles. We are Stopel Analytics Group, and we have always advertised ourselves as an all about data organization, and this water cooler chat is all about reporting, which is a way of showing your data, in this case, to prospect management meeting groups. Um, this is something that I've really been looking forward to presenting because just like Ruthie, I know I have led a number of prospect management meetings, and reporting is always one of the sticky points. Um, and ah, let me let me go to our slides here. I can. So, why do we need good prospect management reporting? I think this is something that, in a way, you already understand this because otherwise you wouldn't have been at this meeting. But when I led prospect management meeting groups back at Niagara University, Florida International University, Rochester Institute of Technology, um, there were things that I realized about prospect management meetings and their reporting that really hit home the need for good reporting systems. First of all, good reports lead to good meetings, and that leads to good results when it comes to fundraising and moves management. Unclear reporting leads to confusion. When I first started doing prospect management, I always knew when something was wrong when you'd get that look from the development officers when they looked at the reporting and didn't understand what was going on. Poorly designed reports lead to longer meetings, and longer meetings are the bane of all of our lives. I always wanted to keep meetings to 30 minutes or less. Longer meetings lead to frustration and worse results. And incorrect reporting, if you've ever been in this situation where someone says, I had a meeting with that person, it's not on here. Why is that happening? Um, that again does not lead to a good result. But a side note of that is that good reporting, if it's good, consistent reporting, leads development officers to put data into the database because they want to show everybody how much they've been doing. And so I think even more than withholding travel expenses, good reporting is the best way for development officers to make sure development officers get their data into the database. So we're lucky here to have Ruthie Giles on the call because she has published a book called Prospect Management: The Essential Guide for a High Functioning Nonprofit Management System. It's a great book. If you've bought it, I'm sure and read it, I'm sure you've already seen how great it is. Um, Ruthie has suggested a number of reporting styles and reporting types for specific prospect meetings. And in the process of this presentation, I'm going to go over those reporting types. And I will share right now the prospect management reporting structures that I've put together for um, for this presentation.
So as
The
as
first thing.
Greg, sorry, as Greg warms up, go ahead and put in chat if you are responsible for prospect management in your shop or if you are responsible for something else.
Mhm.
Sorry, Greg.
That's all right. So the first report that I like to share at that I like to share at prospect management meetings is essentially a campaign pyramid. This tells us where we are. Right now, what you're seeing is a lifetime campaign pyramid, but as I'll be able to show you in the process of this meeting, and it's amazing, I'm watching, trying to do this, I'm watching what everybody does here. A lot of people are doing prospect management. Some people are doing prospect research and prospect management. Some people as I did at one shop where we only had two people, myself and one other person, do pretty much everything. Um, I hope that the reporting I'm showing you will be able to be used by people who, anybody who has all kinds of roles at their shop. So campaign pyramids essentially show us where we are. It shows us the amount of giving, in this case, the number of gifts at each level that we've created here, and the dollars raised with gifts at those levels. This report also shows the number of donors at that level and the dollars raised from donors at that level. And I'll show you later how I filter this by date so that we don't have to just see lifetime. The next thing I'm going to show is, if I can get it here, sometimes this is, okay, my screen. Okay, I'm going to stop the share and go back to it.
So what Greg is showing you is he's showing you a prototype that he's been working on for the last few months based on inspired by Ruthie's book. And we're going to poll you with questions, but I can't figure out how to use the polling feature, so I'm going to ask you to respond in chat.
Mm, yeah. So our next slide here is a donor cycle stage report, and what this does is it tells us how many people are in each stage of cultivation, from identification through qualification, cultivation, advanced qualification, solicitation, stewardship. And I know that different shops have different names for the stage cycle. This is one that both Ruthie and I have used at multiple shops. And we also are filtering these by their capacity rating. So we know how many people at our highest capacity rating, in this case 25 million, are in each stage, all the way down to 10,000, which in this form of the data, and by the way, all the data you see is actually created by random generation. It looks pretty real, but trust me, I created it all randomly. And as an aside, at some point I will put up on our website the method I use to create this dummy data, just in case you have need to do that yourself. I've also put in this report the total value of each of all the prospects in each stage. So we know now we have over $100 million worth of prospects in the stewardship stage, and I'll demonstrate how we come up with that in the course of this presentation.
Sorry, Greg,
Greg,
you have some questions.
Yes,
Ruthie, you want to take it?
there was just one that I think is probably for someone who's on a small screen. Is there any way for you to make the Excel screen a little bigger down on the bottom, just so it's so easier
yes, I
on
can. Here,
old
does this
eyes?
work for you?
I think it looks
Does that
like I
Okay.
found
work?
that person's comment. I think it's good. Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Yes, because this is always you never know how large someone's screen is, and that's actually an issue with reporting too, because you never know how large and how easy it is for someone to see the information.
Okay, another question that we have is this all prospects or just a signed prospect with a solicitation plan? And my guess is,
That
Greg, you can choose.
Yes, that's a good question. In this case, this is everyone with a solicitation plan. This is something that can be filtered and changed as per your needs. And I will be demonstrating that as well during the course of this presentation.
And the next
Um,
question is gift capacity rating based on gifts to all philanthropic orgs over 5 years? So is it a capacity or is it a likely gift amount? I guess is what I'm hearing.
That is entirely up to you. All of this information is a a coming from your database essentially. So however it is that you put your information in the database is how we are going to define this in the report. Um, as I'll be demonstrating this report, all of this is pulled from the database and put into a source file that then the information will be pulled from. So yes, this is entirely up to your organization and how you have it in the database.
Okay.
Are there any other questions?
Yep. For the donor cycle, would you count the number of prospects or the number of proposal opportunities? What's the best practice? What happens if a prospect has more than one proposal or opportunity? Ruthie, do you want to take that one? Do you mind, Greg?
Yeah, I'll let Ruthie take that one.
Yeah, what I you could do it two ways, right? And I think it depends on what you need out of the information. So if you just need to look at the prospects themselves, you would structure it that way. But if you need it based on the proposal, structure it that way. Every shop is a little different. So it's not a one size fits all. And the nice thing about the tool that Greg built is that you can customize it to some extent. But
Mhm.
whatever works for your shop, go with that. So, and I know that's sort of a very vague answer, but we
Mhm.
have, I don't know how many people here in the room, 85 people, it says. So one answer is not going to suit all needs. So if you're looking for something based on your proposals and that's how you track information, base this on your proposals slash
Mhm.
opportunities. But
Mhm.
if you base it on the number of your prospects, structure it that way.
And I would agree with Ruthie. I'd also add that one of the principles of reporting is that you never want to double count information. So if you have two proposals out to a prospect, and they're for two different projects, but you know the prospect is only going to be responding to one of them, but you're not sure which one. I would make sure you do not try to double count that one. So um, only submit a proposal based on the maximum amount you expect to get. Um, obviously, that's not going to happen in every situation, but I've known it to happen in quite a few of them.
Okay, the last comment is, can we let Greg move on now?
Yes, I will move on now. So the next report I would like to show you is a development officer dashboard. Essentially, this is the information in the donor cycle stage, but filtered by a specific development officer. And here you can see the example of the dummy data. We have Diane development officers. Um, Prospects with where they are. This one I have limited to major gift prospects, so I've actually removed the 10,000. I know that in many larger universities, a major gift might be 100,000 or even up to 250,000. This can be changed based on what your major gift level is.
Sorry. Do you mind expanding
Oh,
zooming the
yes, I
screen as
keep
well?
forgetting that if you
Yep.
expand one sheet in Excel, it doesn't
Yep.
expand all the rest of them. So here we are.
Thank you.
This is the expanded sheet. Actually, this looks quite nicer. Um, and the nice thing I will be able to show you how to do is if we want to see another development officer's data, this is actually a drop-down menu. I can show Freddie fundraisers information by clicking on Freddie and then updating officer data. I've also put in here the portfolio size, and this is the major gift portfolio size in this case. Um, and any, oh, I know why that. Sorry about that. The year to the gift dates is a little higher than it should be, and that is because I need to add something to this report. Um, so this essentially shows you the major gift capacity for each stage. I have here a director dashboard, and I have to say, someone mentioned Power BI in the chat as I saw it flashing by, and I do have to say that Power BI, does have some better and easier to use tools, but Excel has its own tools for graphs and charts. In this case, I have put down a gift year total year to date gifts. We have our progress to go. Luckily, we have actually gone ahead in this dummy data. We have fiscal year gift to date. This is the sort of thing we can send to the executives or to the board to tell them, how close are we to this goal? Where have we received our gifts? And how does this compare to the last four fiscal years? So this is an automatically generated report that tells us how much gifts we received to each particular part of the campaign. And again, I will expand this a little just to show the data. Um, The next thing I'm going to show you is the prospect management board. And the prospect management dashboard will tell us essentially a portfolio breakdown, but it also shows us a year-to-date progress for gifts. So in this case, we see our three development officers with the capacity rating. This tells us essentially, okay, what is the capacity makeup for each of these development officers. How many very top prospects, principal gift prospects are we seeing for each person? How many lower level prospects, and where are the gifts coming in? And we can see in this case that Sarah's solicitor is not pulling in the same weight that the other development officers prospects are donating at. Of course, this may be an issue, and I don't like to call prospect management reports shame sheets. I know a lot of places do, but in this case, I think that this does tell us, okay, what's going on with Sarah Solicitor? She's got the highest gift capacity rating of any development officer, and yet she has way fewer gifts. So, what in this case is going on?
So,
Any
Could be in
questions?
that, I was going to say, it could be in that case also that Sarah's only been on the job for 6 months. Like we don't
Yes,
know that she's been there the whole year. This may not be, she might be a newer hire. So
yes,
there's reasons behind the data. There's
there's
always
agreement for
reasons.
that, yeah.
Mhm.
But
And
so
these
while we're
reports would give us an opportunity to identify, why this might be. And this, it may be that Sarah Silver's only had a very small number of top prospects who are not in the cycle. And we can obviously look at the officer dashboard, see, okay, where are people in Sarah's cycle? In this case, she has a lot of people in stewardship. And only three people in solicitation. So it's possible this is just where they are in the solicitation phase.
so sorry, let me throw in one of my polls that I don't know how to do. Go ahead and put in chat if you would pay a little more for custom colors. Because if this were Stop Pals, it would be red, black, and white.
Mhm.
So just say custom color if you're like, oh, yeah,
Mhm.
I'd want that. I wouldn't want whatever Greg picked.
In this case, I'm going to shift the blame over to Ruthie because I actually took the colors for Ruthie's book here. So if you've seen Ruthie's book and you've seen her suggestions for prospect management book
Yep.
reports, this is the same color pattern.
Okay.
Send some good
So
colors, so they're terrible.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So, and
I am not good, as you probably can see from my background. I am not much of a decorator. So,
I would
um,
remind the audience, we're not only talking to you about what you can develop in your shop if you have the time and the skill in a Greg, we're also, of course, you're helping us develop a licensable product that will become an Excel add-in. So thank you.
mhm.
Thanks, Greg.
Yes. The next report I'm going to show you is a pipeline report. Again, and this is the number we see here the number of prospects in each stage, but here we also have the number of days that they are in this stage. And of course, this is something that you'll need to export into a report. Let me make that larger to show you. As I I saw a chat come in, I'm immediately like, yes, I need to make this one larger too. So what this is showing you is how many people have been moved in the past 15, 16 to 30, 31 to 60, etc. days. Um, and our next page is exactly the same report, but we can filter it by development officer. So whoops, let's get that. And once again, if I want to switch the development officer, I can see that Freddie has only done four. I am did, and well, she's done five in the last 15 days. This probably is an artifact of my dummy data. As obviously this is a report that is completely it's updatable. So essentially, this is one that updates itself. You did not need to update this, and I'll show you a little bit about that during the course of this
Okay.
presentation.
Sorry, Greg, you did jitter a little bit. You were saying this is, were you
Oh,
just
this
commenting on the,
so this report updates automatically based on the day it is. So this is 15 days from today, and this is 16 to 30 days from today, and that is automatic in Excel in this report. I'll demonstrate a little bit about that during the course of this. The last two reports I want to show you are a moves management report. Um, this shows you the total moves, and I know this is a lot of moves, but this is because I have not yet filtered it by date. The start date and end date are here. I can just type this in, click on filter by date, and we have the number of moves this calendar year. By the way, this end date is automatic. Um, in the instruction page of this report, I have an opportunity for you to enter the start date of this fiscal year, and this will automatically appear as the last date of the current fiscal year. So we can see that Freddie Fundraiser has really been working a lot lately, and he has done 47 moves. I realize now that for most shops, 47 moves in 6 months would not exactly be a lot. But again, as I say, this is just dummy data that I put together myself.
okay. So our next
And we
poll,
can, oh, go
sorry,
on.
Greg, our next poll is, would you, if you were building this for yourself, or if you talked about licensing it from us, would you want to add a button that filters also by region or by unit they're assigned to, or some other geography than filter by date?
Okay. And then the last report I have is a
Thank you.
prospect report. And essentially what this is when we are going over prospects with development officers, we obviously want to see what is going on with each individual prospect. All the reports we've seen up till now have been summary reports. This is a report that right now shows you every single constituent in the database. However, we can filter these by clicking on these down arrows. And this is essentially a sort and filter function in Excel, but I have leveraged that into a prospect report. So let me expand that a little. And now let's say I only want to see Freddie Fundraisers prospects. And in order to do that, I click on assignment and I make sure that Freddie is the only person who has a check mark next to their name. Click on OK. That will filter the prospects by Freddie. Now I want to know who is in New Jersey and Connecticut because he's planning to take a trip there. So what I'm going to do is make sure that Connecticut and New Jersey are the only two states that have a check mark next to them. Right now, you can see all of the states that Freddie has a prospect in. Click OK, and we have only the prospects in those two states, and we can look at it and say, well, Freddie, are you sure you want to go somewhere where you only have one prospect at 250,000? We've only got six major gift prospects in total, one of whom is in stewardship, and or in fact, our top prospect is in stewardship. We could also, if we want to, clear this filter and look at any prospects who have not yet made a gift this fiscal year, and we do that by clicking on the down arrow, unclicking select all, and then we just click on everyone who's given 0 this fiscal year. Click on that, and now we have everybody that has not yet given a gift this fiscal year. We can even unfilter everyone out who has never made a gift by clicking the zero here and unchecking that under total giving. And now we have everybody who has made a gift in the past but has not made a gift this year. And I have a clear all filter so we can just click on the clear all filter to clear everything at once. We can also sort this by saying, okay, I want to see for Sarah Solicitor, I want to see who has given the most yet this fiscal year. So I click on fiscal year giving again, click largest to smallest, and now we have all of the people who have given this fiscal year sorted from top to bottom. By the way, these names are also completely computer generated. So anyone who appears any resemblance to people living or dead is totally coincidental. Um,
There's a question in the chat, Greg. Actually, two people had the same question. The question is, would the product that you're referencing, this suite of reports, lay over the top of an existing CRM?
That's a great question. Right now, I am working on a C sharp version of this. Essentially, this will be a C sharp add-in that it will not necessarily overlay CRMs because, as you probably are aware, with a lot of CRMs are very touchy with getting information out into a third party. Some places have APIs, if you work with Blackbaud, there's an API. That is something I will be working towards in the future. Um, the plan right now I have with this is to have a C sharp version that you can export data directly from whatever CRM it is you have, and then pull it directly into this product using C sharp language.
What we're doing
So
is we're building an Excel add-in. So up here on top, you'll actually see another button that says Stop Held Tools. I'm doing one for RFM. Greg did this much more brilliantly, quickly, and more complexity. But I'm not jealous. And
I have a lot of experience with
and
programming, so
but it's going to be an Excel add-in. So however you export from your database to pull into Excel to look at stuff, or to even to pull into whatever flat files you use, you'll be able to work with it in here like you would with Node Excel.
Mhm. Yeah, and if you've ever used add-ins in Razor's Edge, you'll know that I mean, Razor's Edge, Microsoft Excel, you know that they have some very powerful tools. I have previously done lectures on Microsoft Solver, which is an add-in that essentially tells you, the optimal, for example, you can use it to figure out the optimal way of reaching your donors, for example. So should we use our resources more on email or on mail or on phone calls? Microsoft Solver will allow you to uh, maximize your potential based on your database. And again, I have some lectures on that on our website. So all of this is coming from this dummy data, and essentially what the end product will be a way of pulling data from your export directly into this web page, workbook. And the same with dummy gifts and dummy actions. In this case, this will be called your data, your constituent data, your gift data, your action data. And basically, that's how this report works. And one of the things I really wanted to do during the course of this lecture is to ask, what other reporting structures does your organization use and feel are invaluable? Because for us, these are reports that both Ruthie and I have used in the course of our careers in prospect management, and they've worked for us. I know they've worked for Ruthie. They've worked for me at various institutions, but every institution is different, and every institution uses things that may work very well for them and also may work very well for other organizations. But as I've said many times in my career, we often work in a bubble and we don't know what other institutions are doing. And other institutions may be doing things that are are very good for other institutions, but they just don't know about that. So if if you have something that works for your institution, by all means, let us know. We're trying to build the best uh, the best software possible. Um, and we're an organization that, as I say, we're all about data. We really want to make the best product based on collective knowledge here. So let me go back to the slideshow for a second because what I've already shown you in practice, and I want to talk about some of the principles of this reporting suite. So, in my experience, um, I have often seen organizations that pull data for a report, and they only pull the data for one specific report at a time. So, for example, if they're pulling a report for campaign giving, they only pull, the constituent name and the amount they've given. But for my experience in Excel, you want to pull as much data as you can in the course of a report. You don't want to just pull lifetime giving. You want to pull every gift with its date, with what the gift was given to. Because if you want to filter that campaign period, say annual fund wants to know how many gifts between $1,000 and $25,000 they've got to the annual fund. Um, and by the way, I don't know in this slide I picked what this the awful pool of stuff is. This is I picked this because it looks often like my office does. It doesn't now, but in the past, if anyone's ever met me at my office, they know it kind of looks like this. Um,
Sorry, Greg.
yes.
Question is, you mentioned to not double count, but what about shared credit among development officers? Wouldn't that be double counting?
Oh, that's a great question, and I was something I've been thinking about over the past week because I'm going to put my own 2 cents about this. First of all, I really don't like shared credit because it leads to issues of and I'm not going to name where it was, but I've worked in places where everybody tried to get credit for a gift. A big gift comes in and everybody says, "Oh yes, I saw that person once at a cocktail party. I should get credit for that gift too." So there are a number of ways of doing this. Um, One way I've had of doing it is simply to, on the report, simply have um, a if you have someone who genuinely has two solicitors, to split that up based on a 50-50. So, for example, one person is responsible for 50% of the gift, the other is responsible for the other 50 part of the gift. In this case, you have a primary solicitor and a secondary solicitor. And this is a little bit of inside baseball and inside Excel, but what I would do is have a field that flags for who is the primary solicitor. And in this case, the primary solicitor would get credit for the count, but then a portion of the gift. You never want, in my experience, I know there are organizations that count this differently, but in my experience, you never want to have credit that's larger than the gift itself. So you don't want, if you have a $10 million gift, you don't want 7 people claiming $10 million credit, $10 million worth of credit for the gift. There are ways of splitting this up. I know that, for example, in Razor's Edge, there is a credit system, so you can give one solicitor, say 20% of the credit, another 50%, whatever. Um, my experience in this case would be in Excel, I would make sure that when the data is pulled into the system, However, it is, you need to make sure that one person is flagged as the primary solicitor. And then I would have two reports, one with primary solicitor and the second with, this is a credit report only. So we have the primary solicitor for the actual number of gifts that have come in. But if you're an organization that has more credit than how much has come in, say everybody gets $10 million of credit for that one $10 million gift, then you need to put together a second report that shows credit only. And the report needs to emphasize that this is a credit only report. We did not receive $70 million. We only received $10 million, but there are $70 million worth of credit that have been assigned for this one gift. As I say, that is not an ideal solution because I don't believe in giving more credit for a gift than has actually come in. But if you are an organization that does that, I would put together a second report, and that might be something that we do in this in this in this add-in. I should mention add-in. One of the nice things about Excel is because there are worksheets in a workbook, we can just remove or add a worksheet as needed. So if that quote unquote extra credit report is needed, we can just add it for organizations that count things that way and remove it for organizations that don't. And I hope that answers your question. I know that's a roundabout answer. So I would always add more data to a report because you can always filter that data as needed in Excel. On the other hand, you want to create as few data sources as possible in Excel. So when you export from a CRM, you're always asked, is this, in some way, is this a report about constituents? Is this a gift report? In each CRM, there are reports where a constituent has the unique number for the unique ID for the data. There are reports where there is a unique ID for giving, for moves, and so on. This is what you want for each data type. You want one unique entry for each data type. So in this case, um, you're going to want a data source for constituents, you're going to want a data source for gifts, and you're going to want a data source for moves. So essentially, you are running three reports on your CRM. You want as many fields as possible, but you only want as few data sources as possible. Think of it as if all these papers were put into three different piles. So, what do you do with these reports? And this is probably my favorite slide that I ever put together because I think the difference as snooty dining versus Taco Bell. And Taco Bell is actually a reference I made when I used to put together reports like this. I would call them Taco Bell reports. Okay, the way Taco Bell works is you've got meat, you've got cheese, you've got tortillas. How many different dishes can you make with three different ingredients? Well, Taco Bell makes a whole bunch of dishes with the same three or five ingredients. And that's what you want for reporting. You may have noticed that some of the reports I showed you were very similar to each other. That's not an accident. We want to have as many different reports with the same quote unquote ingredients, in this case, the same data fields as possible. They just show us different things. We don't want it to be like snooty French dining, and I can say that because a lot of my ancestors are from France. Where it takes a lot of different ingredients, but you only make one dish. And then people don't have the choices of seeing the data in different ways. You want to try and make as many reports as possible with the data that you can retrieve. So another principle of reporting is that you should have as many fields as are necessary to build the reports you're doing, and perhaps more if you think they're going to be needed down the road. For example, I didn't have any field reports filtered by geography other than the prospect list, but maybe in the future you might need that. So in that case, should you include city, state, and zip in your reporting? I would say yes, because if you're going to be building reports in the future that need them, you can have them in your data without necessarily putting them in a report. You can make a report later. And that's why we ask that question, if this is something you do in your reporting or need in your meetings. Let's see that. Oh yeah, we're going pretty quick. Okay, source file versus destination file. The principle of all of these reports is that we have a destination file. This is what we're pulling out of your CRM. They should be flat. This should be flat down without any formulas or programming. The reason is because we are going to be copying over this. We're going to be pulling data into those workbooks. We're going to be pulling data into your report. We do not want to copy over the actual formulas that filter our data. Also, source files are going to be exports from your CRM. There's not going to be any report. There's not going to be any filtering. There's not going to be any formulas in that data. You want all of your formulas and programming to be in your destination file or worksheet. And this is also where the actual reporting should be, where everything is put together, where the colors are, where the graphs might be.
So we have another question. I thought this would be a good time to ask it.
Mhm.
So the question one is do you count people or households? And I said it's by your definition. But then the next question that popped in, it said, would you also include their companies, foundations? And I would also think of DAFs, right? As household or
Right.
directors wanting to set this up, so we want to count them as one prospect. And so what do you guys think? I'm thinking that's a credit question versus a soft credit question, right?
I would agree with that. That to me feels like if you're expecting the gift to come from the company, then include the company. If you're expecting it to come from the president of the company, who might be your alumnus or might be connected to you, then add it's really more of a question for your organization than for the report. If your organization wants to hard credit the company, then count that as your prospect. If they want to hard credit the individual, then hard credit the individual. And again, I agree that that is more of a hard credit question than a soft credit question. I mean, hard credit versus soft credit question. If if you're expecting the gift to come from the organization, hard credit the organization, but also count that organization as your prospect. Again, this is dummy data only counted individuals because it's easier to come up with randomized individual names than it is to come up with randomized company names. But if you feel that you're soliciting the organization, I would certainly count that as your prospect rather than the individual.
I,
And then your reporting would, whether it's pulled from the CRM or shown up here, would reflect that.
So I'm digging all these fabulous questions because, of course, while we're developing this stuff, we're just trying to get the formulas to work. But you guys are like, in my shop, it's more complicated than that. So thank you so much. The next question is, could you treat prospects with more than one assigned officer as a different category? In
Certainly.
addition to your individual gift officers, add another shared gifts officer that contains those opportunities. Don't double count the credit so the actual gift amounts are represented correctly. I worked with a shop that had that. They would have Paul, Susie, then they would have Paul and Susie, then they would have Paul and Sharon. And then Sharon got mad so that because she was listed second, so then they had Sharon and Paul. And like, how do we figure out how many gift officers we're working with and who was assigned to what, right?
Mhm. I
What do you
would
think?
also say that I know every CRM doesn't do it this way, but I know Razor's Edge does, is that you can export prospects with the assignment, say Susie colon Sharon. And then in my report, that would automatically pull in as a prospect listed under the assignment Susie colon Sharon. Um, and that's perfectly fine. That is a way to make sure that things are not double counted. The only thing you'll need to make sure is when you're presenting the report, you say, you need, if you're looking at Susie's prospects, you need to look at every prospect that has an assignment that includes Susie and not just,
Right. And
um,
what percentage does Susie get? Oh my goodness. And then Paul's going to walk around, not do any work, take his half a percent. Oh goodness, goodness. My head is spinning
I've
already.
known Pauls. Yes.
Yes.
Um, And the way I program this can definitely pull that into the individual reporting so that when I pull up only Susie's reports, we can pull not just Susie's individuals, but also the ones she is only responsible for, but also ones she is jointly responsible for. Yes, I can put the report that way too.
Great. So we have another
So
14 minutes, Greg. So we're on good
oh my
time.
goodness. Well, I will very quickly show you the building blocks of these reports because I know this again is a little bit of inside baseball, but for those of you who are wanting to know how this all works, so this is our donor cycle stage, but I have not filled in anything yet, and this is how the data works. I'm going to expand this. Unfortunately, the formula itself doesn't expand. I've talked in the past, and I know I've mentioned it at previous conferences, the power of count ifs and sum ifs and max ifs. These essentially are filtered ways of looking at data. So we have in our dummy constituent data constituent, we have our assignment, we have the rating, and we have our prospect stage. So we need to filter this by rating, identification, so donor cycle stage, and officer. So essentially, the count ifs gives us where the criteria range from the dummy data. And we're looking here at column J, which is the rating. So we're filtering that by 25 million because our criteria one is A3, which is our capacity rating. Then we have our column that has the donor cycle stage identification, quiet there, Excel. And then the cell it's filtering against is here, the donor cycle stage, um, which is in B2. Unfortunately, because I've been going too slowly, I don't have our references. I can't talk about what the dollar signs means, the static reference. But essentially, all we need to do now is just copy this and paste special formulas, and it populates automatically based on our count if statement. If we want to add another count ifs, all I need to do is let's do the assignment and then go back to our donor cycle stage. We want to have our officer as a completely static reference. Now, when we copy and formulas, now we've filtered by three different things. We've filtered by the capacity rating, we've filtered by donor cycle, we've filtered by the officer. Um, we could potentially add even more if we want to filter by state. We could do that. If we wanted to filter by zip code, we could add zip code down here. Um, I've made this into a drop-down menu. This is also something I know I have an Excel class about this. All of the things that I talk about here in the Excel, other than the underlying VBA programming, are things that I have Excel classes on, and they're available on our website. So I know we're running out of time here. We're down to 10 minutes. So I want to show you what um, I want to show you. I talked a little bit about static versus dynamic filters. Essentially, a static filter is like in the case of this example. A static filter is anything that is hard coded in your Excel file. A dynamic is something you can change. So this drop down is dynamic. However, the donor cycle stages are hard coded. So if your organization has different donor stage cycles, if it has different capacity ratings, we can alter those for your organization. And then for as far as officers, you can change those, and I'll show you how they change automatically. which I hope you'll see is pretty neat. So if you were doing this on your own data, you would want to copy and paste all of your data uh, through copy and paste special values to put it onto um, a new workbook. However, as you'll see the in the in what I'm working on, I have an export macro that does that for you. So let me answer one question I know came up while I was working on this. Why don't we just all do all this filtering through pivot tables? Well, there are a few reasons I issued pivot tables here. Trust me, I love pivot tables. Marianne laughs at my love of Excel, and pivot tables are something I've used for 25 years. But for me, in this case, pivot tables, it's a lot easier with the count if filters to export a clean copy easily. You can lock down cells, which means that people can't come in and change things in the data. It's a cleaner data interface. And also, the biggest thing is that lack of data doesn't mean the reference disappears. So if Freddie Fundraiser had no moves during the last week and you want to do a weekly report, this does not kick Freddie out, and he does not think he has been fired for having no moves, which he might want to make him think that anyway. But it's probably better to still have him on the report to let everyone know he hasn't had any moves. So, lastly, let me just show off some of the things that this thing can do. For example, I've shown you the moves management report. Let's say that we have a brand new gift officer. I'm going to put Gail gift officer identification today as the start date. Um, let's go to update all data. And one of the things that I know in reporting is that sometimes when a report is running, you click on the update button and nothing happens for a while. So if you look at the very bottom right of the screen, no, bottom
Bottom
left
left.
of the screen, excuse me, you will see that the report is updating. It's summarizing all of the records.
So
And go on. Go on,
nuts.
Mary.
You know what? It just left my head. I'm sorry.
Is there anything in
Oh,
chat? Because
no, sorry. What I meant to say is Greg made a change to a record in here, but this is not the design of this. Nothing goes back to the CRM. He just did it to show that update all data works.
right, right, because obviously um, this is all dummy data, so uh, I don't really have any updating here. And oops, something went. Never fails. Oh, it's just telling me the data update is complete. Um, so now, since I've added Gail, she does now appear in the drop-down menu. This is something obviously that we can do in VBA that cannot be done through standard formulas. And if I look at Gail, we can see that we do have one. She does have one prospect in identification, and that as I made that today, she does appear in the stage report as having made one gift. I mean, excuse me, one identification in the last 10 to 15, 0 to 15 days. And if I want a clean copy of this, all I need to do is click on export page, and we have a clean copy. We have all of this information, and you can attach this direct. You can save this to a file direct, email it to Gail to show her, okay, here's your one prospect. Um, the other thing you can do in this is if I want to now, okay, we get obviously none of the one prospect we have for Gil, we've not have any moves yet for because we just assigned her today. But we can change our moves management report. Let's see how many moves are made this month by everybody. Filter by date. Oh, it looks like I haven't coded any. Oh, that's because it's 5/1/6. There we go. Looks like we only have one move so far this year. Oh well, at least it was a meeting by Freddie. Um, if I could do this any any data I wanted, and you can see the moves that were made. So let me very quickly just tell you where we are in the process of this. Um, so where did we get where are we here? I know that when I started and asking myself, well, how do I do this reporting? I started on kind of a level one by using simple formulas by like sum, and that again, that's something that I talk about in I've talked about at conferences and other lectures. I quickly went over level two, which is using more complex formulas like count ifs or sum ifs. What you're seeing right now with what we have are VBA macros. And while VBA macros are very powerful, many organizations treat macros quite rightly as a potential security risk. So we are moving to level four, which is building add-ins with C Sharp and XML. Essentially, what this means is it is going to be something you add directly into Excel. It's a much faster program. It will take seconds to update your data rather than about half a minute. The XML allows us to add all these functions to the ribbon. So it'll be up at the top where you do your other Excel functions. And the last thing about C Sharp is that it's also very solid. It's nobody can go in and mess with the coding. Nobody can go in and change the data. Everything will be locked down so that nobody can fiddle with the reporting and then say, "I didn't fiddle with it," because they won't be able to do that.
That's the licensing part.
Right.
So Greg can get something back for all the work he did.
And there's a
Well,
So,
question in the chat. Someone is asking, Donna's asking, what is the current view on portfolio size? Perhaps this can be included on the development officer dashboard.
oh,
yeah, good question. I actually intentionally in the dummy data limited all of our all of the fake gift officers to 100 prospects per portfolio. And this is something I've been thinking about quite a lot lately because more and more, obviously, we have bigger and bigger donors. Uh, it's just a fact of life that wealth is going up and up to richer and richer potential donors. Again, this is something I present on like 15 years ago, saying, the 80/20 rule is long gone. Now it's more like 95/5. 5% of our donors are giving 95% of our donations. Um, so for principal development offices, I would say your portfolio should be as few as 20. I've heard of places that have very, very foundational, what we call foundational gift donors, where they only have 5 to 10 active prospects. So, oh, thank you for coming, Madeline. The, you know, for a smaller organization, maybe it's impractical to have a gift officer with only 5 to 10, but maybe you can think about your organization's president or CEO having a small list of 5 to 10 top donors that they speak to on a regular basis. I mean, what would you say, Ruthie, in this case?
Smaller is better. I mean, when I first started in this work 25 years ago, 1,000 years ago, um, I was dealing with people with portfolios of 200 to 500, which is just ridiculous. And had to fight with people to make them smaller because I think they were worried they were going to lose some grand opportunity. I'm like, you're not even seeing all these 500 people, so that opportunity doesn't really exist. Once I talked them into smaller portfolios, they actually were doing better because they could really focus on those people. So
Mhm.
it's not wrong. And I talk about in my book when I go on and on about Dunbar's number, but love Robin Dunbar, read some of his books. Um, but Yes, smaller portfolios are better. And if you were someone working with those higher level people who need more attention and sort of more of the care and feeding of those high level prospects, then yes, you're going to have a much smaller portfolio. So if I see portfolios bigger than 75, I'm like, oh, too big. Starts to make me wince. And I know some places you can't talk your gift officers into smaller portfolios than that for reasons. And I
No
appreciate that.
kidding.
And I've been there and I understand it, but try.
Yeah. So it is 1 o'clock Eastern time. Um, so a couple things to note. First of all, we're going to publish this thing in September because that's my birthday. And the other thing to note is that if you would like to, if you're developing stuff, a few of you have mentioned that you have stuff in Power BI. Greg and I both teach Power BI. If you want a coaching hour, they're $300 an hour. You can sign up for one with Greg, or you can sign up for one with me, or you can sign up for one with Ruthie. So I'm going to make sure Greg's link is available when we send out the replay. But does anybody have any last minute questions or comments?
Yes, thank you all for attending. We this is something I think you can tell I'm very excited about because reporting I think is something that has been underrated in the uh, in 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 the conversation of fundraising. That we talk a lot about various pieces, and I think both prospect management and reporting has been something that's been a bit underrated. I'm so grateful for that Ruthie has put together a prospect management book because it's kind of the unsung hero of fundraising in many cases.
That's right.
Yeah, one of the concepts that we worked with is that, you can go to a random number of vendors who want you to put your data on their stuff on their machine. And every vendor that wanted to partner with us to talk about that, I'd say no, no, the stuff stays on the client machine. They're like, well, no, it's up at Amazon, it's very safe, it's blah blah blah. And then Blackbaud had a
Absolutely
cra-
not.
had a, my data, my old email address and my social security number are everywhere right now. So we wanted to say, what is a good simple tool that I can put on my machine?
Hmm.
If you're still hanging out, do you guys mind if I show you the other latest product that we've been working on?
Go ahead.
Um, and if you're not interested, of course you're gonna cancel out. But I just want to show you the other thing.
It's always fun to see what's going on behind the scenes.
Okay.
Yes, yes, this is.
Do you guys see the Stop Hell Solver?
Yes.
Mhm.
So the Stop Hell Solver we designed it was inspired by David Lamb, but also some work that Jen Kay when I was at Carnegie Mellon did called a Pathfinder. Like, how do I find the blah blah blah? And we're going to put increasingly complex tips in here. And of course, we're going to have membership tiers so we can pay ourselves for the work. But if you have a question about anything related to development operations, we want to put some kind of tip in here, including, of course, notes to go buy Ruthie's book or take one of our classes, because, you have to do that part. What do you guys think? Christine says, it's okay. That's about as good as you get from Christine Yeager Rushton.
And yeah, a lot of the Excel tips I talked about I've added to this structure. And Robin, um, for example, scroll down, Marianne, to the identifying mismatched and misspelled Canadian postal codes. There it is. This is something I
Oh yeah,
was I
we
wrote.
should show
Yeah.
you what we call the recipe on how to do this.
Yes. So if you are checking your Canadian postal codes and town names to make sure that that there's that the towns are spelled correctly and they match the correct postal code, this is the process for doing so. So again, this is something that we've built. Yeah, basically,
Yes.
Robin,
Yes,
this
Robin,
is
exactly.
a way that I am taking the knowledge I've learned about Excel for the last 25, maybe 30 years,
Mhm.
and distilling it into, okay, you want to know how to do this in Excel, this is how you do it. And Ruthie is doing the same for her prospect management. Marianne is doing the same for all of the knowledge she has, which I can't even detail here because there's so much
Well, because
of
I
it.
was up to blog post 57, so I figured I would take all the blog posts and I would digest them into topics and I would put that in here and point you to the blog post,
Mhm.
if that makes sense.
Yeah. So
Mhm.
this is something that is going to expand constantly. We are constantly adding more pieces to this, and we will continue to do so for as long as we can. This might be Claude. I
Yes.
don't know.
Yes,
I don't
Laura.
know
Yeah.
if we can outwit Claude, but I will do my best to be Greg. I don't know if we'll have a Greg AI, but
So yeah,
I would.
so the solver, of course, the business end of this, we always have to get something for it. And so of course we charge a membership. There's going to be a price for being a core member, and then there's a super duper price for whatever we figure out as super duper.
Mhm,
But anything that's free is is going to be available. You just have to give us your contact information. So then we
mhm.
can send you newsletters and try to sell to you and stuff.
Yeah.
Do you want to see anything?
This is where you get to peek behind the curtain, talk to the wizard.
Yeah. Yep, and all of this is going to be, yes, all of the blog posts that are in here.
Hmm.
Um, you should put my blog posts about GDPR in there too.
It is in
So,
there.
oh, it is in there. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and
Oh,
also your Monte Carlo.
oh, okay.
Mm.
Well, that's
Yeah, yeah.
good. All right.
Okay, so
Wow, we had a lot of chat.
thank you for letting me share that too. So good. I with all the nodding that I'm seeing, it was worth it for us to continue working on that. So thank you. Now I got to figure out how to stop sharing my screen. How do I stop sharing my screen?
Should be a little button somewhere.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I put it
should have
someplace.
click on share again and then click. Oh, thanks, Christine, for coming.
Yeah, thanks for
Click on
coming,
share
everybody.
again and
Yeah,
then go
it's
to
good to see you, Chris.
top
There we
share.
go. Stop sharing. Okay.
Yes, thank you, Tara.
Am
Uh,
I still sharing?
oh, thanks for
Yes.
coming, Dominic. Yeah, good
Dang it.
to see you again.
Okay.
So so yes, again, please email me. We had our and in fact I will share so that uh I will share my contact details here. So if you
Oh,
want
it's
to
in chat. I'm sorry. It's already in
well,
chat.
it's also in chat, but here it is as well. Just if you want to send me suggestions about this or
Hmm.
suggestions about what you think can be added to this to make it a better product. I mean, I am always all ears on this. I want to use some of our collective knowledge to build the best product possible. Our intent is that this will be something that anyone from the smallest to the largest organization can use.
Yep. And as someone who's worked at a lot of small shops, this thing's awesome.
Oh, I believe me, as I think I mentioned in the in I've worked at a place that only had two people.
Oh, there.
And this that was back in the old days when we didn't have really any computer programming that allowed us to, for example, do seating charts. So Sam and I sat down on the floor and like did a seating chart on the floor. So that tells you how small some of the organizations I worked for have been. So.
I think Jody, did we answer your question yet that you put in the chat? I don't think we did.
Hi, I'm sorry to be so late.
Oh, that's
But
fine.
I was curious if you ever use the core-based statistical area codes for mapping and prospecting. Do you know
I
what?
have not, but
You mean like
I
the
do
census
have
data?
an Excel program that
Yeah.
will allow you to check to see whether someone is in the correct zip code slash city for the US as well as Canada. No, I've not used the core-based ones. That's something I can look into because that's something I know about. I just haven't used them yet.
Yeah, we find like say we're looking for the Omaha area. Well, like it's big, like if we all would use the same defined core-based area, because when different people work on projects, that the boundaries are drawn differently. So I was just
Mhm.
curious if you've gone that direction. It's something that we talk about, but
So are you talking about MSAs, so metropolitan statistical areas, or a different type of core based? Because there are a number of ways, obviously,